Shavua, Parshat Vayeitzei. We're now here in Perek Kaftet. After, in light of the fact, we're talking about two objectives of Yaakov Avinu, in light of the fact that the first one has been ascertained, and that is being alive, fleeing, and arriving to Haran. And now he is living in the house of Lavan. By living in the house of Lavan, he is sheltered, protected from his brother called Esav. Now, Yaakov Avinu must know what his second objective is. And that is to build a family. He remembers, as I see in the wonderful article of my dear father, Rabbi Horowitz, he remembers what he heard weeks ago or months ago in his ears. His father says to him, Kum lech Padana Aram. Get up and go to this place called Padan Aram and take for yourself Isha mi benot Lavan achi imecha. The emphasis there was find a girl from the daughters of Lavan achi imecha. The emphasis, the brother of your mother. The meeting was met between he and Lavan, and we see in Lavan's words disappointment, the lack of warmth. He thought, when he heard that Yaakov has arrived, the son of Yitzchak, who the Eved Eliezer arrived decades ago, that he would be dawned upon with great gifts, wealth, and when he doesn't get that wealth, you can stay here, it's okay. And other words, he gets an invitation, but we don't see any warmth, anything special. And we're up to the idea where Yaakov Avinu finds out that Lavan has two daughters, although the Torah says it in a narrative. But it's clear that Yaakov wants to marry Rachel. As we see in Pasuk Yud Zayin, just let's go back. Ve'einei Leah rakot, v'Rachel hayta yefat toar, v'ifat mar'eh. We're going to understand that the attitude Yaakov will have to Rachel and the conduct, it seems to be a very exposed conduct, a natural relationship. As we saw yesterday, he doesn't hide his affection or connection to Rachel. Although we learned that he kissed her, what we explained yesterday, that was something cultural, because here the Torah says, linashek le, and not linashek et. The preposition et was not used. So here we see the Torah speaks openly about her, and it may be this behavior is very parallel to the character of Rachel. Her nature is exposed. What does the Torah describe about Rachel? The words are, Ve'einei Leah rakot. The eyes, the organ, such important organ of the body, is something which is exposed. The eyes can be seen. Okay? Miss Rachel right now, as some of you know, she's going to represent something very important, the exposed side of what will be the building of the house of Yaakov Avinu. Okay? Rachel, Leah, we're told about the eyes about Leah, I made a mistake. The eyes are also a very spiritual organ. Okay? You can close your eyes, you can imagine, you can abstract. The eyes are very spiritual as well. That's the objective of Leah, to be the builder of the house of Yaakov on the spiritual side. Levi will come from Leah, Moshe Rabbeinu from Leah. Okay, the spiritual side will come from Leah, whereas Rachel representing the revealed side, that will be the Yosef coming out of Rachel, the builder, the economist, the financial advisor, and so on and so forth. So this is very, very clear to us that Yaakov is interested in Rachel. Now let's see what happens as far as a wedding is concerned. The Torah does say in Pasuk Yud Chet, Vaye'ehav, Yaakov et Rachel. What he is interested in this, he's attracted to her. She has external beauty, but she has great character traits. He sees his mother, as we'll prove it. We proved it partially yesterday. We'll prove it again. God knows otherwise. God knows Ulileya Shtei Vanot. And the Talmud said, we brought it yesterday, the Midrash, don't read the word Banot, Ella, rather Bonot, builders. Bonot. Both women will build Israel together. Let's just briefly go aside. The Midrash brings us many parallels of who? What great leaders, individuals came out of Leah and Rachel. For instance, as far as generals or kings, out of Leah, of course, came out Yehuda, David, Moshe, the kings of Yehuda. From Rachel, which kings came out or leaders?
King
Shaul and his sons, Yeravam ben Nevat. Lion killers. Who came out of Leah?
No way.
I'm waiting.
The bad kings of Yehuda.
Who killed the lion?
Shimshon.
From Leah. David, the lions and bears. Okay, whereas from Rachel, Shimshon, because that's from Dan, is from Bilhah. Prophets and judges came from both, immense numbers. Who were capturers of the land of Israel? From Leah?
Yehoshua. No.
Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech. And from Rachel, who came out? Yoshua and Shaul. And so on and so forth. From Leah, the great gift of Kuhuna, the priesthood, and the Malchut, the kingdom. Whereas from Rachel, the temporary kingdom from the house of Yosef, Shaul. And of course, where the Beit HaMikdash will be built on part of the land of Yehuda, but the tabernacle in Shiloh, as some of us know, are in the mountains of Ephraim. Very good. And your question, Moshe, Dor Moshe?
So is it better for Yaakov to marry Leah? She's more spiritual?
No. Okay, so this we're going to see. Yaakov fell in love with Rachel. Let's pop the question, is he interested in her physical beauty? That's what most people reading the Chumash might see, the physical beauty. But the reader of the Torah cannot just be gullible and understand the external meaning of the beauty of Rachel Imeinu. What?
Temple Mount is in Binyamin Mountain Range.
Parts of Binyamin and parts of Yehuda. Gentlemen, if Yaakov Avinu, if his love for Rachel is tied completely to her physical beauty, let me ask you a question. You're my financial advisor, Renan. I'm Yaakov. And it says in Pasuk Yud Chet, Vayehav Yaakov et Rachel. Clearly, he loves her. Love is an abstract matter. To love the inner beauty of a person. Rabbi Fireman is famous for saying, okay, and I try to say that to the kids and grandkids. You know, people use the expression, I love hamburgers, I love spaghetti, I love this, I love that. You don't love it. Love is ideals, ideas. God, the nation of Israel. I love the beauty of my students. But food is tasty. You know, Rabbi Fireman, I think, uses that expression. It's name of the Kotzker Rebbe? Thank you. I didn't know that was the source. He said that in name of the Kotzker Rebbe?
I think so, because there is a famous story about the Kotzker Rebbe that one of these Talmid said, I love the fish. And the Kotzker Rebbe gets angry at him and he almost stabbed at him saying, you're not loving the fish. You're hating the fish, but you're not loving it.
Okay. Can you ask for Fireman today if that's his source as well when he teaches, if you can? Let me go to my financial advisor. I want to marry this woman and this woman only. Remember, Yaakov came with sacks of gold and silver, yes or no?
He came.
Did he come with a checkbook?
No.
Credit card?
No.
What can he offer to buy?
The stuff only.
So let's say she walks very well without her staff. And so what can he offer?
To work.
His labor. His labor.
Manpower.
Manpower. I asked my son, I went to his yeshiva high school last night in the Shomron. He's a 12th grader. We learned some of the section. How much would you offer for a girl that you loved? A few years of salary? He says, yeah. A few 100,000 shekels? Says, yeah. Okay. What does Yaakov offer? Vayomer, in the verse, in the middle of verse 18, Pasuk Yudchet, E'evotcha, I'll work for you, Sheva Shanim. In Hebrew, we would say, Mata friar? Are you so gullible? What's the matter? You're giving 7 years. Let's say it makes about 100,000 shekels over the course of 12 months. 100,000 times 7. 700,000 shekels? Friar? Is he gullible? What's going on? Why is he offering so much? We don't understand what's going on. Stop there. Don't stop there. And then he says, I want to work for you for Birachel, Bitcha, Haktana. Get to the point. Rachel, what's going on? Lavan says, Vayomer Lavan, Tov, Titi otalach, I'll give her to you. Thank you for your favor. Mititi otalach, it's better I give her to you than give it to someone else. Does he agree to the marriage? Does he say marriage? Conditions? Does he agree to the conditions? Shvai midi. He doesn't say, I agree to the conditions. He says, we're dealing with a cheat. A con artist. A con artist. Now, the Malbim asked this question, what's going on? Why is he offering so much money? I went to my economic advisor, he says, 2-3 years of salaries is enough. Nachon or lo? 4 years. Okay. Why in the world is he offering 7 years of salary? The Malbim says he was afraid that Lavan's going to try to trick him. And just look, my impression and my will and desire is only her, and I'll work more than regular to give you my money of 7 years. That'll convince Mr. Lavan. I'll work more years, you'll get more salary, and then I'll marry her after these 7 years, and you'll see what good it is, and you know that I'm serious. Yes, David.
So, a question. We know from Victor that when she was said that we didn't either she was 3 years old or 14 years old. So the question is, Rachel, do we know what?
No, she's not a girl. She's just a younger daughter, right? The Torah doesn't say here how old she is, but she's not anything so young.
Oh, okay. Because there was another reason. If she was also like, I don't know.
No, she's just a younger. You had another question, was it? No. Gentlemen, after this is stated, Vayavod Yaakov Barachel Sheva Shanim. You know, what comes out of the mouth of Yaakov, he fulfills. He's tamim, he's complete, he's an ishtam, he's honest, he's straightforward. He said, he does. Vayu ve'inav ki yamim achadim. But this period that passed, we're not like Sheva Shanim, 7 years. Rather, what are the 2 words of the Torah? Ki yamim achadim, several days. Huh? When you love someone, you can wait 7 years and it goes by just like so fast. What's going on? This is the point we want to prove. If there are 2 types of love. There's a love of ideals, a love of principles, a love of a mission. And when you realize that it's something so high, so elevated, then you have patience. You can go through whatever difficulties, the trials, the process, in order to get there. But since you're so connected to that ideals, it's just like a few days, even though it's just years. But if the love is that you love yourself, and you want that person to help you fulfill your needs, your lust, your desires. I'm thinking of the case of Amnon and Tamar. He just had lust and desires and wanted to be with that woman. And once he was with her, threw her away the next morning. Because he really is loving himself. And all he's looking is for an outlet to fulfill his lust and desires. If the love that Yaakov Avinu has, and the expression of the kiss is he has lust and desires, he's not going to wait for 7 years. And certainly not going to be for him kiyamim achadim. They're not going to be like several days. he won't be able to do it. So here we can prove that the love is for what she stands for, her inner nature. He sees his mother, the attributes of his mother, Rivka, inside this woman, Rachel. And that's what he's interested in. And therefore, he knows he's dealing with a con artist, a shakran, a ramai, a deceit, a liar. I want Rachel. Maybe there are a lot of Rachels over here. Bitcha, I want your daughter. I have 2 daughters. Haktana, I want the younger one. What happens? Pasuk Kafal of 21. Vayomer Yaakov el Lavan. Hava et ishti. Hava et ishti. Huh? Give me my wife? Your question is? Are they married? Good question. Ki mal'u yamai. My days are filled up. And now he says, Ve'avoha aleha. Literal translation. And I shall what? Come upon her, meaning have relations with her. Is that what you say to your father-in-law? Excusez-moi, what's going on here? This is like an R-rated movie. God forbid. What is going out? I see some of you don't know where to put your head. Why? Because you have shame. You have shame talking about marital relations. And what does it stem from? Okay, the great leaders and mentors of Hasidut would explain that the pollution from the sin of the Nachash, okay, set into man, into our world, that any time a man had to perform this mitzvah, immediately the influence of the snake infiltrates into the action of the mitzvah, and there's like a feeling of sin or shame. Okay, this is the chait with Adam HaRishon that's here. You know what though? Yaakov Avinu purified himself from all sin. He sanctified and elevated himself to a level that's similar to Adam HaRishon prior to the sin. If that's the case, he has no shame in reflecting about the mitzvah of why I'm getting married. I want to have children. And therefore, I want to establish God's name in this world. Yaakov perhaps knows that he is the third foot of three patriarchs, and that he will bring into the world what we said yesterday in the name of David HaMelech, Shiftei Yah, the tribes of God. A very holy objective. And therefore, Yaakov's speech is ultimately straight and aligned with God, and therefore he has no shame. It's as if right now he's on the level of the correction of the sin of the Adam HaRishon. So that answers question number 2. What about question number 1? Why say my wife? 2 answers we've seen amongst, at least that I've seen amongst the commentaries. 1, there's something called Ye'ud, to be designated. Once he told the father-in-law, I want her, marrying her, she was like engaged. She was designated Ye'ud to him. Furthermore, all over the years of the 7 years, as the Gemara says in Masechet Ketubot, he's been giving her what's called sevlanut, gifts of engagement. Over the 7 years, he's been donning upon her various gifts and prizes and awards. They too act as making her engaged, connected to her, to him, that if he would change his mind, halachically today, she would require a get even from that. So right now she's considered like a semi-Eshet Ish, a wife, and she's designated to him. He's been giving matters. Now, my days are filled up. We know here, if he left 63, 14 years, he was in the Beit Midrash of Shem in Ever, that's 77 years old, and now he's worked 7 years. He's now Pei Daled Shanim, 84 years old. He has to have a family. Malu Yamai. My days are filled up. I have to have a family right now. Lavan, what does he do? Kafbet. Vayasof Lavan et kol anshe makom vayas mishteh. The Talmud learns from here that at a wedding, there's a mitzvah to have a su'udah, a su'udat nisuin, a feast of marriage, okay? And it was the custom of the world then as well. And to make this joyous time and party for marriage. And from here, Chachamim relied upon this Seudah for the halacha we have, plus, as we're going to see in a moment, 7 days of rejoicing. Now, Mr. Lavan doesn't want to accept this. And why not? His motive is to fool, cheat, lie to his future son-in-law and have him marry not only Rachel, but also Leah. The question is, what was his motive to do so? He says, halachically, meaning constitutionally, if we skip a few psukim, and look in Kava, Vayomer Lavan, Lo yasachen bimkomenu. This is not what should be done in our place here. Lateta tzira lefnei bechira, to give over in marriage the younger one before the older one. That's not done here. So why don't you tell me that the day before, right? My dear friends, the motive of Lavan is not written here, but maybe we can see it construe it from the psukim. Economic reasons was the worthwhile reasons for Lavan to do what he did. When you have a Yaakov Avinu around you, and he's such an honest and hardworking young man, he brought prosperity to Lavan's house. He brought money, he brought water. And therefore, I'm going to put on a trick and make sure that he's going to hang around here for another 7 years, and I'll even be more wealthy. Some of you know, Chazal say, we learn from Shlomo Melech, someone that has a mana, he wants 200. 100 is not enough. Ken, Shlomo Melech says in Mishlei, or Kohelet, Ohev kesef lo yizbak kesef. Someone that loves money will never be satiated with money. They're just people who want money, more, more money. That's all they want. And they're not happy. And they want more. We know that money is only a means to serve Hashem, to build a family, to do tzedakah, to do chesed. Correct? Why? Let me ask you something. Read with me 22, Kafbet. Vayesof Lavan et kol anshei hamakom, vaya'as mishteh. Is the order of this pasuk proper? Is the order of this pasuk proper? Some argue that since he's making a mishteh, then he collected all the people to them. Is it? Yes, sir?
I have a question because it's confusing a little bit. Yaakov, he said, give me my wife, but they are not married at that moment.
Give me my wife, meaning the woman that is betrothed to me, engaged to me. That's what it means here, halachically. Go ahead.
They had this beautiful meal, but the Torah don't say there is a marriage. And if more,
so look, I'll just answer your question and then go back to what we're doing here in Pasuk of Gimel 23. It says, Vayikach et Leah vito. Do you remember? So you weren't here probably for the shur that Rabbi Nathan Cutler gave, which was on the Gezerah Shava Kicha Mestei Efron. How do we learn the acquisition of properties like land, like a woman? So that opening Gemara Masechet Kiddushin Perek Rishon, that we learn the word lakachat here in the Torah means halachically to make an acquisition, to acquire. So by taking her and then having marital relations with her, for instance, that is an act of acquiring her. And that's the famous first Mishnah, Masechet Kiddushin Perek Aleph Mishnah, that states, and I'm quoting, Haisha nikneit b'shalosh drachim. A woman can be acquired in 3 ways, one of 3 ways. Bekesef, b'shtar, biyah. She can be acquired in marriage either through kesef, money, shtar, a promissory note, or biyah, marital relations. Both vayikach is stated here, and the verb vayavo elah. Marital relations are expressed, intimate relations are expressed in the Torah in a very modest way, and the verb lavo is used because we consider this something very holy, and it's covered up with the word vayavo, and he came upon her, namely he had relations with her. That'll be an acquisition of marriage as well. Okay, that answers your question, sir? Thank you, sir. Let's go back to Kaf Bet regarding this aseifa. My dear friends, cheating in the area of Haran is even anchored, supported by constitutional law in the city. This short midrash that I want to share with you will help bring light of the tactic that Lavan uses in order to show his deception. And before the marriage happens, before the evening occurs, he collects the townspeople to tell them what he's about to do, the secret that he's about to do. And lita'im amadot, you and I think along the same way, he says to the people, and I want to join you in the following action. The Midrash says the following, and this explains the pshat really here in this place. This Midrash is Bereshit Rabbah, chapter Ayin. He collected I'm doing a free translation. He collected the townspeople, and he says to them, you know that formerly we had a water shortage here in the area. Once this tzaddik arrived, our water supplies have been very prosperous, but very blessed. So what? They asked him, what do you want? I want to tell you the following. If you agree with me, I'm going to cheat and lie, and I'm going to give him this night, in the dark room, I'm going to give him my oldest daughter, Leah. And since he loves Rachel so much, he'll certainly work another period of 7 years, because he loves her so much. And they answered, do whatever you think is worthwhile. So he says to them, I want you to give me collateral. Or like we say in English, put your money where your mouth is, right? Give me collateral that no one will spill the beans. No one will reveal our plan. They started giving him collaterals. Some gave him money, some gave him wine, some gave him oil, some gave him meat, and then they made the mishteh. What do we see here? That the objective of Lavan is cheating, lying, and benefiting materially with as much money as possible. But he does it together with his neighbors, with his friends, with the townspeople that are called to come to the wedding. Number one, he apparently took advice with them. Number two, will Yaakov divorce Leah? What is the probability after everyone knows what's happening? Do you think he's not? It's unlikely that he's going to divorce her after everyone knows what's going on here. And number three, I want to relieve myself of any suspicions in the eyes of Yaakov, because what I'm doing right now is in the eyes of all the townspeople. I think this is okay to do. So he has a justification. So what we have here is this plotting of Lavan, which is anchored, protected, supported in cultural life here in this area. Let's see what happens. My dear friends, Pasuk Kafdala 24. Not only did he give him Leah, Vayitein Lavan la et zilpa shivchato. Mr. Lavan has two maidservants, an older one and a younger one. Would you like to take an educated guess who Zilpah is that he's giving it over now in front of Yaakov? The younger one, right? He'll think the younger one goes with Rachel and the older one goes with Leah. Okay? Vahi vaboker, morning comes, daylight comes, surprise, vihi nehi Leah. Now, let's look at the attributes, the behavior, the conduct of Yaakov. Does he scream at her? Does he curse her out? Does he say, what are you doing here? Why did you take part in this? Is that what Yaakov says? Let's see. I'm curious to know. Vayomer Lavan, he says to Lavan, Mazot. Who is he speaking to? And not?
Leah.
Not to Leah. Very good. Vayomer Lavan, Mazot asituli. What did you do to me? Halo v'Rachel avadeti mach. Surely I served 7 years for Rachel. Velama rimitani. Why did you lie to me? So we see here that this wonderful midot that Yaakov says, he doesn't get angered at Leah, the Shalom Bayit. He married her. Did he marry her? Who's going to raise a good halakha question?
Yes. Through the...
Because he didn't know.
Excellent.
Leah.
He didn't know that's Leah. You just can't marry someone mistakenly. That's called in the language of the Gemara Masechet Kiddushin 2 words, Kiddushay Te'ut. It's a mistaken marriage. Kiddushay Te'ut is not kiddushin. It's not marriage. The Gemara says when he found out the next morning that it's Leah, he, in order not to embarrass her, he had relations with her for the purpose of marriage. He doesn't want to belittle her, to insult her, and so on and so forth. And therefore, he's so special that he doesn't embarrass her. So here we see the great tzniut, the modesty practiced by Yaakov, this restraint, the control that he has over himself, and even without the modesty that happened between the two, as if they didn't talk over the course of the night, and whatever signs Rashi brings, that there were signs to make sure he would not be cheated. So Rachel gave over those signs to Leah in order not to cause shame and embarrassment. That's what Rashi says in the name of the Gemara Masechet Megillah, page 13, that Yaakov transmitted to Rachel the agreed upon signs to verify to one another so that Lavan cannot deceive Yaakov. But, like she could have said, for instance, I'm pure, I went to the mikveh, and other simanim, that Rachel protected her sister from ultimate shame. Now, let me ask you something. V'halo, look at the words. V'halo Rachel. He doesn't curse Lavan out. He says, this is unjust, this is unfair. Sure, I worked for Rachel 7 years. So why didn't you give Rachel to me? Do you have a Geiger counter right now? Can you look into the sorrow and the grief that Yaakov must be feeling? A person after working 7 years. Wow, what an insult. What a disappointment. This low cheat, this guy called Lavan, okay, he did something that, you can't be corrected. It's like the cry of the weak against the strong. It's like the cry of the right against the cheat. Now, after the Kiddushay Ta'ut, so he has relations with her according to the oral Torah. And now, what is the answer? We saw before. Lavan says in Pasuk Kavav, Lavan, Lo yasachein bimkomeinu. Okay, this is not constitutional law. This is not right. Latet hatzira lefnei bechira. In other words, the younger daughter before the older daughter doesn't go in this town. So you have to marry Leah first. And therefore, it's not considered cheating. That's his logic, right? Yeah. It's not considered cheating. You had to marry Leah first. Okay? Otherwise, it can't marry Rachel. Now, could Yaakov, the upcoming night, marry Rachel?
No.
What's the problem?
It's way too hard.
Why have to wait?
7 days.
Why have to wait?
The first.
Why? What do Chazal say? All of your answers are related to the following principle. Chazal say, the Rashbam brings it, Ein me'arbevim simcha besimcha. What did I just say? Ein me'arbevim simcha besimcha. Did you understand it, Asher?
No, please.
After in the word.
What does me'arbevim mean? We don't mix one simcha, I'm adding the word, to another simcha. Right now, from here, Chazal learned out those 7 days of joy. That's what he says to him, right? Pasuk Kav Zayin, read it. Malei shevuazot, fill up these 7 days. I'm adding the word days. V'nitna lach, and we'll give you gam etzot, this one. For what? Ba'avodah asher tavodi madi od sheva shanim rachot. I'll give you Rachel in when?
7 years.
7 what?
Years.
Slowly. When he says Malei Shavuazot, it means 7 what?
7 days.
7 days. You can marry her when?
After 7 days.
After 7 days. What is the price?
7 years.
7 years of work. Michal Ari, very good. That's what it says here. So the word that's missing, it'll be hard for us. Malei Shavuazot is Shavua Yamim and not Sheva Shanim. Okay? 7 years. From here, Chazal learned out Shivat Yemei HaMishteh, 7 days of parting. But of course, it'll be on behalf of 7 years of work. What's very interesting is both Leah and Yaakov have received this affliction with silence. He doesn't complain to her. She doesn't complain to him. And the question is, how can they be so restrained? So restrained in such a very sensitive
Why would
time.
Leah complain?
Leah was forced. By the way, I want to prove a point to you. In Pasuk Kaf Gimel, did Leah want to be given to Yaakov Avinu against her will? Look at verse 23. Who can tell me or spot a word that shows that there is coercion here? We see it, very good. We see this, the word Vayikach, very good, Asher and Hanan. We see this throughout the Torah, that the word Vayikach can often denote against the will. We see it in Megillat Esther, right? We see it in many places. So he took Leah, as we say in Hebrew, neged ritzona, against her will. What is the secret here of such restraint? Rav Eliyahu Kitov, in his commentary to the Chumash, explains, when you have firm belief in God, even on a private realm, that this is also from Hashem, then it has to be for the good. This must be the counsel of God. If it happened and it worked, apparently God allowed it to work. Had he not wanted it to be functional, he would have built a stumbling stone. He would have prevented it. Hashem has many ways, infinite ways, to prevent matters of being formed. So therefore, apparently Hashem desires that both daughters of Leah be the daughters of the house of Jacob in the future. And maybe, and that's what the Abarbanel says, so too Yaakov Avinu understood. Me'et Hashem Haita. Let me repeat the pasuk in Tehillim again. Me'et Hashem Haita Zot. It's in Hallel. It's one of the pasukim in Tehillim. Remember that? That this is Hashem's will to marry both. Now, what? Okay, Mazal Tov, let's go on. Pasuk, Kafchet, verse 28. Before we get into other matters, this will be the end of the short today. Thank you so much.